Hi, my name is Franklin Awudia. I've got a very serious case that's currently affecting my family, centers around my kids, my wife, my entire family. Please, I'm asking you, this is a cry for help. I'm asking you to lend me your ears, okay, because we've got nowhere to turn to but to the general public. And if you can take the time of the day, please, I've got everything typed out because it's the best possible way to be able to communicate myself with you guys effectively. So just listen to the end of this video and kindly just take the time to hit the share button and help me, help my family to hold the powers that be in this country, the corrupt, institutionally racist justice system of this country, hold them responsible. Right. With reference to the current case of Eniola Aduko, the black female England footballer that had an issue recently with the FA, I was able to gather confidence to be able to talk about my suffering and the suffering of my family, and also with reference to several meetings that I've had with my local MP, Fabian Hamilton, who basically said to me that it might be a fantastic idea for me to go public and let the public hear about my suffering and the suffering of my family members. So what I've done is I've put everything down here and I'm going to read it to you, okay? I don't intend to bore you, but these are very, very serious allegations that the public need to be aware of. It involves Leeds City Council, it involves the NHS, West Yorkshire Police, Minwood Group Practice here in Leeds, and at the top of the scandal, we've got the Ministry of Justice and Tom Riordan, the Chief Executive of Leeds City Council. So, as I said, for the purpose of clarity, so that I do not miss important points, I've typed my statement of facts. On the 28th of January 2016, I issued a lawsuit against Leeds City Council, Minwood Group Practice, who is my local GP surgery, NHS Litigation Authority and West Yorkshire Police at Leeds Combined Court Centre. I'm going to give you an overview of what happened prior to the lawsuit so that you can be able to build a mental picture of what my journey and the journey and the sufferings of my family have been till date. So number one, I'll talk about the history with Leeds City Council. My two sons attended Woodley Primary School, and at some point we were approached by the school that they might need speech and language therapy support, to which we gave a written consent. In 2014, we found out that our first son had been neglected by the school for more than 9 months with no speech and language support as promised. We equally found out our second son had also not been assessed or seen by a speech and language therapist for several months. Shortly afterwards, we were invited by the head teacher, Jane Langley, to sign a complex needs form that labeled our second son as having mental health issues and no medical assessment, and or evidence to back such ridiculous claim. This prompted us as parents to take him to the local GP for assessment. The GP gave our son an all clear that there was nothing wrong with him medically. The catalogue of neglect and failings made us remove our children from speech and language program at the school, Woodley Primary School, and registered them for SLT home and clinic program on the NHS, which is even better. We found out that Jane Langley, the head teacher at the time of Woodley Primary School, used our sons, both our sons, to fraudulently claim thousands of pounds in taxpayers' money. I can imagine you watching this and how shocked and how revolting you find this. During the periods our sons were not seen by the therapist at the school, and continued to fraudulently do so whilst they were no longer assessed at the school but at the NHS clinic. This was swiftly brought to the attention of Leeds City Council, who did everything within their power to cover up the fraudulent actions of Jane Langley. We also found out our second son, who has nut, fish and egg allergies and is asthmatic and heavily reliant on his EpiPen, was neglected by Woodley Primary School, who put his life in serious danger by allowing his medication to expire for more than 9 months. Please note that as parents, we did the due diligence to continuously ask the school if his EpiPen and other medications were in date, and received affirmations of this. We have the expired EpiPen from the school in our possession. In a bid to cover the failings of Jane Langley, Leeds City Council maliciously put us under the spotlight of social services in a bid to remove our children into care. Patrick Kelly, employee of Leeds City Council, involved Jane Langley in the complaints raised by us regarding the ill treatment of our sons at the school and mismanagement of funding for SLT. Social services within Leeds City Council falsified documents claiming to have parental responsibility of our children. This was shared with Richard Vautry, Annette Beer Park of Millwood Group Practice, who then gave Joycelyn Murphy, Anna Bedford and several other agencies unlawful access to our children's medical records. Just to put it on record, they do not have parental rights, there's no court orders, there is nothing. These are people in position of powers who are violating our human rights and abusing the systems around them to destroy the structure of my family. Right, Joycelyn Murphy, social worker, and her manager, Anna Bedford, unlawfully and without consent, shared details of our son's pediatric appointments with Jane Langley, who in turn unlawfully intercepted 2 pediatric appointments booked for our second son in a bid to remove our parental right and to cover our failings, whilst disregarding the crucial fact that that helpless child desperately needed that appointment to improve the quality of his life. Jane Langley, who had no right, colluded with our GP surgery, Millwood GP, to remove details of our second son's medical records and to prevent us from gaining access into their medical records. A whistleblower within Allwoodley Primary told us that our second son had been repeatedly and unlawfully given medication within school premises without parental knowledge and or consent. Following this revelation, several attempts to access our children's medical records have been repeatedly blocked by Leeds City Council, NHS Litigation Authority and Millwood Group Practice from 2015 till date, over 2 years. Whilst dealing with all of this, our first son brought to our attention that he had been assaulted by his teacher, Miss Ray, at Allwoodley Primary, which we reported to West Yorkshire Police. So I'm going to move to the background with West Yorkshire Police now. PC Diane McCann of West Yorkshire Police visited our home on the 15th of April 2015 to investigate the assault on our first son. She interrogated our then 9-year-old and requested that he reenacted the scenario at school as it happened. PC McCann promised that West Yorkshire Police will investigate the teacher and take the matter to CPS. Our first son was subsequently invited to Whitwood Police Station here in Leeds on 22nd of April 2015 to have a statement recorded on tape. PC McCann prevented us as parents from observing the interview of a minor as his parents via the observation room, and this unlawful handling of the investigation arose our suspicion. We later found out via whistleblower and subject access request documents that PC McCann had colluded with Jane Langley, Leeds City Council, NHS, Millwood Group Practice and deliberately abandoned the investigation without any explanation to the family and secretly involved herself in an ICPC meeting primarily set up to forcefully put our children in care and eliminate our parental rights. Given the shocking revelation, we did what any loving and caring parent would have done by swiftly removing our children from the UK in August of 2015. The removal happened during the school summer holiday and Jane Langley was notified in September 2015 via email that our children are no longer in the UK. Jane Langley passed this information to West Yorkshire Police, who had contacted UK Border Force that confirmed the children were no longer in the UK, but on the 23rd of September 2015, PC Oldroyd and Rothery attended my home and became aggressive and intimidating towards me and threatened me with unlawful arrest when I insisted that they had no right of entry. PC Oldroyd and Rothery then falsely accused me of murdering my children, their mom, and hiding their dead bodies in my house. They made this false claim in order to gain forceful and unlawful entry into my property. I was desperately worried about my safety as I was alone at the time, but I managed to carry out an audio and video recording of this visit by PC, Rothery and Oldroyd. West Yorkshire Police have made 4 further attempts to gain unlawful access into my home and have me arrested. PC Oldroyd and Rothery made subsequent visit to my home in plain clothes, threatening that I will find myself 6 feet deep if I do not back away from the case against West Yorkshire Police. I subsequently made a subject access request and shockingly found out that West Yorkshire Police have labelled me to be in possession of a legal firearm. I am a law-abiding citizen and I have never been arrested, never been in possession of a legal firearm or any other weapon, or been spoken to about any of such matters. West Yorkshire Police defamed me and shared this information with several agencies including Leeds City Council, Minwood Group Practice and NHS in a bid to defame my character and project me as a dangerous black man, which I am not. A carefully orchestrated, plan of building a pseudo profile of a dangerous and deadly black man in a bid, to commit me to prison. I have repeatedly filed requests to West Yorkshire Police to provide me access to my police record, and these requests have been repeatedly ignored. On a visit to Steinberg Police Station on 8th of April 2017, after being delayed for more than 5 hours in the reception area, PC 667 approached me in an aggressive manner and unlawfully drew his taser and once again echoed the death threats made by PC Rothery and Oldroyd that I will find myself 6 feet deep if I do not back away from the case against West Yorkshire Police. I had to live in fear for my life whilst PC 667 and his colleagues laughed on. Now to the background with Minwood GP surgery here in Leeds. Minwood Group Practice. Dr. Richard Votry, Dr. Bear Park and partners have prevented us from accessing our children's medical records from 2015 till date. More than 2 years that we've repeatedly made attempts to gain access. They failed to provide access also to my personal medical record and unlawfully removed me from the surgery in a bid to cover their actions. Dr. Richard Votry, Bear Park and partners unlawfully deleted my second son's prescriptions from their database, even with hard copies, evidences of repeat prescriptions for his EpiPen, antihistamine and other medication he is heavily reliant upon. Minwood GP falsified my second son's medical notes to indicate that these repeat prescriptions were one-offs in order to cover the failing of Jane Langley and Leeds City Council. They colluded with Leeds City Council, claiming to have parental responsibility, which has never been the case. These so-called professionals pose a danger to not just my family, but other members of the public through their criminal actions. It is our reasonable submission that Dr. Bear Park, in collusion with Jane Langley, repeatedly medicated our second son, hence why we are being prevented from gaining access to his and his siblings' medical records for more than 2 years. Dr. Bear Park further falsified documentation claiming to be the personal doctor of our second son when she has never met or treated him. This has been shared with several agencies who have also unlawfully gained access to our children's medical records. Now to my background with the NHS. Sarah Winfield, speech and language therapist and an employee of the NHS here in Leeds, defied parental preferences, which clearly indicated that the assessments and meetings with our sons were kept within home and clinic, particularly private. Sarah Winfield provided Jane Langley unlawfully, Leeds City Council and multi-agencies unlawful access to our sons' speech and language records without our knowledge and or consent of us as parents. We have audio recordings of appointments with Sarah Winfield during which she repeatedly claimed she would never divulge details of our son's speech and language records, however subject access documents reviewed otherwise. Lewis Sutton, employee of NHS here in Leeds, who worked alongside Sarah Winfield, also repeatedly divulged details of SLT meetings to Leeds City Council and other agencies with a complete disregard for parental preference and or consent. She also prevented follow-up SLT appointments from being given to our sons when they desperately needed it in order to show that NHS Home and Clinic is inadequate and for our parental rights to be completely obliterated. Dr. Sheila Claire Puri at Wortley Beck Health Centre forged a 4-page medical document in which she falsely claimed to have diagnosed our son with complex social communication disorder when she did not assess him at the pediatric appointment, which only lasted for 15 minutes. And the said 15 minutes was spent querying how Jane Langley knew about our son's privately booked pediatric appointment, as the document she had opened on our screen was from Leeds City Council. I immediately told her I could not trust her with her assessment of my son, and a new appointment will be booked with a different pediatrician, and left our office immediately holding my son. I have an audio recording of the 15 minutes conversation which proves she had not assessed my son. She had no contact with him. Dr. Puri, knowing that a collusion with Leeds City Council had been exposed, maliciously made a referral to social services, but unfortunately Leeds City Council could not act on it as their previous unlawful actions had already been exposed. We subsequently made a subject access request to the NHS for access to my children's medical records. However, this has been disregarded from 2015 till date. So that's the background to the lawsuit as indicated at the start of this video. Fast forward to 2016, with the case now at Leeds County Court. District Judge Goldberg, after receiving a copy of my case bundle in August 2016, realized the complexity and seriousness of the case, and particularly because the defendant hadn't complied with court rules, she progressed the case against the 4 organizations to a trial in December 2016. Leeds City Council and their cohorts swiftly wrote to the court asking that the court's bundle, my court bundle of evidences, should be disregarded. But when they got no response, Leeds City Council then started infiltrating the court processes as I wasn't legally represented. And this process was spearheaded by the chief executive, Tom Riordan. District Judge Joanna Faye Geddes, who evidently have an extensive history with Leeds City Council, abruptly intercepted my case and failed to recuse herself on the grounds of conflict of interest and non-compliance with Article 6 of the Human Rights Act 1998 and the European Convention on Human Rights. I followed the court complaints procedure and physically filed the complaint documents with sealed copies as proofs. I have my evidences of all sealed documents. I always make sure I keep records. Were disregarded and discarded by Leeds County Court. Hearing dates were abruptly changed, as I said. On 24th of January 2017, the case was struck out abruptly by District Judge Alison Shepherd, who completely disregarded my bundle, prevented me from expressing myself throughout the hearing, and shouted at me that she didn't care about the infiltration of my case. When I said to her that this case is evidently being infiltrated, she shouted, "I don't care!" And we got thrown out of the courtroom. I have an audio recording of that hearing. Unfortunately, or surprisingly, they have not been able to provide us with a transcript of that hearing because they know it's a shambolic handling of the situation. She added that being labelled as being in possession of an illegal firearm by West Yorkshire Police is not a reason for me to bring a claim to the court of law. She did not consider any of my evidences as the primary focus was to destroy the claim. She equally blocked and disregarded our pending requests for the disclosure of police records and our children's medical records. District Judge Shepherd said it's pointless to see our children's medical records. On the 7th of June 2017, District Judge Shepherd equally struck out my second claim, which was brought against Jane Langley, Patrick Kelly, Joycelyn Murphy, Dr. Puri, Dr. Bear Park, PC Diane McCann, in a bid to cover their catalogue of failings. During the course of the hearing, DJ Shepherd kicked us out of the courtroom and court staff made a racist comment calling us fucking black bastards, clogging up the system. I immediately rushed the court window 4 to file a complaint and was told by Craig Whitfield of Leeds County Court that the court had better things to deal with. The court took several payments for application notices N244 and deliberately sat on all of them, refusing to process any of my applications, an application requesting that my case be transferred to the High Court, as the county court didn't have subject matter jurisdiction to deal with that hearing to start with, but it was maliciously contained within the court by people that have extensive relationship with Leeds City Council, handpicked by the chief executive Tom Riordan. So you get the picture now, to destroy the case, to make sure that we don't get justice. They failed to process my appeal. I immediately filed an appeal. It was blocked and repeatedly terminated any follow-up telephone calls. I was told there is nothing I can do and that I am up against the Freemasons who control the court and the country. This is what the staffs at Leeds County Court told me. I am up against the Freemasons. In my pursuit for justice, I took my matter to the Royal Court of Justice and filed a lawsuit against the Ministry of Justice on the 21st of July 2017. I've got my claim form here. I'll show you very quickly. That's my claim form. Okay? Well, so I issued the claim on 21st of July 2017, as they have a vicarious liability for the actions of the named judicial office holders as well as other court staffs who repeatedly violated our human rights, acted unlawfully. The Ministry of Justice have been ruthlessly and actively infiltrating my case against them in a desperate bid to obtain a civil restraint order, which would mean my family won't obtain justice and will be silenced and crushed and will be forced into monetary debt that we do not deserve. We have dealt with enough sufferings for over 2 years, and as it stands, the Ministry of Justice have shown themselves to be inherently racist, oppressive, and with a complete disregard for the lives of innocent people who are not legally represented. They have recently handpicked Dina Rose QC, sitting as a Deputy High Court Judge in the Royal Court of Justice, but I swiftly discovered that Dina Rose also has an extensive relationship with the NHS, the police, and the local authorities. This is a cry for help, as the Ministry of Justice and court staffs of Queen's Bench Division have been actively suppressing this case, stealing and destroying vital court documents that were appropriately filed, be it in person or via sign for delivery. MOJ unlawfully got the court to move my case into the county court at Central London and lied that the High Court can't hear matters that contain racial discrimination. We thoroughly challenged their unlawful action with legal precedents, and the case was swiftly returned to the High Court. Knowing that they have no legs to stand on, they are desperately working to destroy the case with the aid of a civil restraint order without allowing us due court process that would evidently smash the MOJ and their cohorts into smithereens. I contacted the Judicial Conduct Investigation Office severally with a 36-page detailed document with chronology of events and evidences. All they did was sweep it under the carpet and told me that a judge has the right to infiltrate a case. Did you hear that? And that judicial immunity allows them to act however they want. That's just utter bullshit. They also added that I can't sue the JCIO and there is nothing anyone can do about the actions of the named judges. Tom Riordan, the Chief Executive of Leeds City Council, who I contacted severally via email when their legal team was deliberately disregarding my court document in a bid to cover up for the council, has a full awareness of everything that I've narrated and is actively involved in the infiltration of our cases at Leeds County Court and Royal Court of Justice. He blocked me on Twitter and instructed the council to block my email address and to ban me from accessing all council departments shortly after I exposed him as being involved with infiltration, of course with credible evidences. My local MP Fabian Hamilton, during a recent visit, categorically advised that we go public as it is the only way that justice will be obtained. Please help me, please help my family to stop the Ministry of Justice from covering the unlawful actions of the named judicial office holders, organizations and individuals. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact me. Please, this is a cry for help, not just for me, not just for my family, not just for my innocent kids, not just for their mom, but this will serve as a precedent for other members of the public that have been on a daily basis being violated by this so-called powers that be. Please, out of the kindness of your heart, help me make this video go viral. Just hit the share button. If you're a journalist or if you can be of help, you're interested in our case, in our suffering, trust me, I've managed to compress all of this because it's impossible to bring everything in. Please get in touch. Thank you for your time. I'm sorry for taking so much time, but it's a cry for help because of innocent kids are involved. My family structure has been shattered to smithereens. Thank you. God bless. Peace and love.